Okay, part 2. Unless you didn't watch the first part, and then it's just part 1. But, welcome back. Window chats with Robyn, and hopefully Gabi. So we're just gonna wait, and I say we as in I'm awkwardly going to wait for people to come on the screen. And then I'll invite Gabi, and then we'll see each other, hopefully. This is terrifying, in a sense. Okay. I still have to hang on. Again, Instagram's telling me to be patient. Really, really doesn't know who I am. Okay. Let's find out if it's gonna work. Anticipation is killing me. Oh God. Okay. Maybe if I invite her, send request. Hi, Gabi. Okay, we're gonna try again. I'm gonna send you a request. Sending it. Here we go. Oh God, please work. Ah.
Yeah!
That was nerve-wracking.
I have literally no idea how any of these things worked, but we did it.
We did. And that was just to prove that we could figure it out together. That was a team-building exercise. You're welcome.
World Instagram Live.
There you go.
A tip of the hat.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. How about you? It's been forever.
I know. Thanks for agreeing to do this. I'm kind of like, I don't know if she'll do it, but I like you. So I threw it out there, and you're like, yes. I'm like, oh, boy. Okay.
Well, that's what, oh, boy. I put that, out into the world all the time. I'm just like, just ask, always. Yeah. And especially now, I'm doing very little right now. So please just ask. I love seeing people. I love chatting with people. And it's just a nice excuse to, I love my husband so much. But there's only so much conversation we can have about online chess, Am
I right? Honestly. But now I'm worried you're going to get messages from random people. I heard all it took was a message for you to talk to them. And then I'm like, oh God, we started something.
We'll go from there. I'll take it.
Okay. I feel like you can handle yourself. I'm not worried. But yeah, how's you're so busy. You're doing the new local. You're doing all these fun the Harold Green stuff. I'm like, look at you go. I'm so proud of you.
Aw, thanks, man. I think being a self-employed person for a long time is just you're always looking for the next thing. You're always looking for ways to continue to be creative and fulfilled. And so that was just sort of at the beginning of all this, almost a year ago. Oh my gosh. Just knowing that what makes me happiest in the world is performing. And of course, when that's taken away, it took a long time to figure out how I could continue to feel fulfilled and contribute in a way. How do I have purpose? And so luckily there are other like-minded people out there who are also sort of trying to figure out a way to make it work. And with some trust and some kind of okay, let's try it and see what happens. Then we were able to do some things. And so it's been okay, I miss people, of course, and I miss being in a room with people, but we have been able to continue to perform, and I'm very proud of that for this year.
When's the next show? I was trying to find on your website. I'm like, oh, when's the next one? I don't know.
So we actually we're announcing something, I think, on Monday. Okay. We're just going through the final planning stages, but it's going to be something Valentine's Day themed, and it's going to be actually sort of a big spectacular where we're joining forces with a couple of other really great performers and vendors and people who have really done great things themselves, and we're kind of joining forces and doing something really, really fun that should be big and lavish and lovely, and kind of a way, instead of everybody just trying to do their own thing, we're kind of doing something all together. So that should be lots of fun.
Classic collaboration. I love it.
you know, it's nice, especially now. Like, I just, I feel like everybody's just feeling the COVID burnout a little bit, and winter obviously doesn't help. And instead of, like everybody just trying to outsell each other for these, lots of wonderful Valentine's Day events that are going on, or, things to boost people's spirits, like, let's just work together for a little bit. Let's just, pick each other's brains and bring different audiences together and just try and yeah, do something a little bit different that way. So stay tuned.
I'm excited. No, but I love that. Like, I don't know. I'm a sucker for Valentine's Day because I love me some heart-shaped chocolate. So many, like, anti-Valentine's Day people out there now. I'm like, oh, just, like, a little love never hurt anyone, but...
Well, that's what, like we're trying to sort of celebrate just love in general. It doesn't have to be relationship love. It doesn't have to be marriage or whatever. It can just love for your families, love for your friends, love for your chosen family. And we also have something kind of special for the single guy or gal out there also. Something that's celebrates actually just the single and ready to mingle, something that's going to be like something extra special in our show for that as well.
Well, see, and you've thought it through. You got your bases covered. There you go.
You gotta keep people happy.
Give the people what they want, right?
Absolutely. Especially now, just like, this now is not the time to leave people out of everything. We want to just embrace everybody and just have a big old love fest.
For sure. I'm trying to stare at your poster right now, and I don't know what it is behind your head.
So I have a couple.
Okay.
It's interesting. You have to like give the tour. This is the we actually have like 2 little office spaces now, which is awesome. Our second bedroom over there has been like my music room where I've been teaching some singing lessons, and so I've got some like classic Babs show posters and stuff like that up on there. And here, this is kind of our little like worky office, like computery office. And on the top, you will see myself and my lovely husband Jeremy for a poster that we did last year called the Epstein Christmas Variety Show. And that was our first like sort of cabaret together. It was at the Jazz Bistro last December. And this year we actually successfully did the 2nd annual Epstein Christmas Variety Show, which was lots of fun. And this just below it is our very first new local poster, where we partnered with the Oak Park Deli, which is a fabulous little Italian joint just around the corner from us. And our amazing logo that our friend Akiva Romer-Segal drew and designed for us. And our very first little poster, before we knew Canva, before anything like that, we just had like a word processing document where we made a poster. So we thought we would keep it as a little memento.
I love that. I saw you also had like a, was it Cruella de Vil version for some Halloween version?
Yes. Yeah.
It was very
he's made us like a couple of different variations. When we did I think for our second show, we decided to have like a Lady and the Tramp, kind of like spaghetti meatballs something. And so then literally, because it was very last minute, I was like, Akiva, can you literally just replace, can you make us the Cruella and the Phantom of the Opera, and instead of the plate of pasta, can you just make it a pumpkin or something? So he literally just like put a jack-o'-lantern in the middle of us. So I think we've got Cruella and Phantom have forks, but it's just like a pumpkin in the middle.
It was really good though. I'm like, I don't know. I like to get anything for free. So I'm like, okay, what free app can I use a poster with? But I'm like, I thought it was very professionally done. I mean, if I ever need someone.
Akiva Romer-Segal is incredible. Shout outs to Akiva. I actually have like a phone date with him later tonight. He's incredible, as some people maybe who are watching here know. He's a composer of the musical theater, along with his writing partner and best friend, Colleen Dauncey. The two of them are very good friends of mine. And he also is an incredible animator and graphic designer. And so we were starting a thing, and we asked him if he could make us an incredible animation of us, kind of like sort of that had a bit of the Nanny feel to it, is sort of what we were
Yes,
going
that's
for.
what it
So
totally the Nanny. Oh my God.
yeah.
That was an interesting show. What a voice. Classic Fran.
I know. Classic Fran.
Not gonna do that. But you guys are so cute. I love watching your little video clips that you had. And then I get creepy and I look at all your photos together and I'm like,
Do it.
how long have you performed together? Like, is that how you met? I don't know why I don't know this story.
So we did actually. We met doing a production of Fiddler on the Roof. Have you ever heard of it, Robyn? So we met we've been together for this March will be our 8th anniversary. So we met, just like probably 8 years ago now, or in January, just before that. And we met doing Fiddler on the Roof at Stage West Mississauga, back when Stage West Mississauga was a thing. And it was sort of like, of course, I'd actually never done the show before that point. And so it was a really special one for me. And there was just like, that show just brings out the best in people. I think it's just one of the greatest shows ever written. And it just like celebrates love. I think everyone who does it knows how special of an opportunity it is to be in that show. And so everyone just like wants to make it the best experience possible. And so, and I think, just like I was one of, maybe 3 Jews in the cast. And so so it was an opportunity to bond as well. Jeremy played, I was Zeitel, and Jeremy played Mendel, the rabbi's son. And so as we were kind of courting, like through this and a little bit after, the man who played the rabbi, and him became really good friends, and he would like ask advice like from his like show rabbi about like ways to impress my family and like all that stuff. So it's very, very sweet. So we did a couple of shows after that together, and then kind of didn't for a long time. And then just before we got engaged, we ended up doing one big epic show together. And then we both love performing cabaret style stuff. Jeremy sort of more in the vaudeville comedy side of it, and me sort of in the song and performance and storytelling side of it. And so we started doing that, and we've been married for just about 1.5 years now. We got married right before all of this, and it's been really wonderful to have somebody to work with and perform with, and in all of these things that we've been doing. It's obviously just much easier and way more fun to be able to do this with my partner, my roommate, the only person I see ever right now.
Yeah, for sure. I know I've turned my husband into an actor, and now he's getting better than me, and it's really awkward in our marriage, but it's fine. And then
do you guys perform together? Do you guys perform together?
No, like when I'm doing film stuff and I'm like, this is funny, I need a scene partner. Cool, right. You're in it. Let's go. And then I'm like, here's a sketch. And then Mike was great. Robyn, you're learning. You're trying.
Right. Yeah.
It's great. Very healthy. No, he's awesome. But I love when people perform together, because I think it's so. I remember seeing you guys at like Statler's when that was a thing, but I guess Singular Sensations, and you'd always do your Suddenly Seymour. I'm like, they're so cute.
We actually, so Jeremy, this is a funny story. So when we were doing Fiddler, there were auditions for this production of Little Shop at the Rose Theatre in Brampton. And we both, that was actually kind of the first time that I really realized that I had feelings for Jeremy, because we just kept on, we couldn't get the idea. We both had auditions, him for Seymour, me for Audrey. And I just couldn't get the idea of us playing those roles together, like out of my head. And I was like telling the other cast member, I was like, wouldn't it be great if we did this? And they're like, yeah, it'd be cool, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, shoot, maybe I have feelings. And he got the part and I did not. And um, it took, so up until I did it last year, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, what is time? Um, it took me a few years after that to actually play the role myself, but it was not, we've both done it, but at separate times. And maybe one day, although
Maybe
like
together.
I keep on saying like, who knows, maybe my Audrey days are done. It'll be like him playing Mr. Mushnick and me playing Wino number 3 on the street. So
Number 2. Gotta give yourself some credit.
that's true. I'll be number 2. Yeah.
Oh my
Totally.
god! But you did it at Stratford though, right? Like that was amazing.
I did. That was like my Stratford debut, possibly my Stratford ending credit as well. Who knows? It was the greatest joy ever to do that. Not only like growing up in Toronto, going to Stratford was a yearly tradition, and then being with Jeremy for the last number of years, of course, like that continued for us. And so actually not only getting to be there, but in just again, like I consider myself very blessed, like doing really amazing shows in really great places and playing great roles. And this was one that kind of like I didn't really see, as a kid, it wasn't like Audrey was a dream role, as in the same way that like Fanny Brice was in Funny Girl. I didn't, like necessarily connect the same way, but as I've developed as a performer and sort of know what I can do a little bit better, that sort of like character lead type stuff with the style of voice and the style of comedy, it just became really evident to me that it was a perfect fit. And I was really, really lucky, especially because Donna Fiors, who directed, saw it too. I think like I was very fresh in that audition, and the fact that it was, me up against people who'd been there before for many years, and she, along with some other people, like had to sort of step up and say that I was the one for the job, and I'm very grateful.
That was amazing. And then you also did like Billy Elliot, right? There was, I think,
So that was
Eric
awesome.
Okay.
Was that sorry?
Did you work with Eric Charbin? I can never.
I
pronounce his
did.
last
Yeah, he was
name.
he was
Love that guy. Okay.
incredible guy, so talented. Oh my gosh. So he was Frank Brass, the musical director and the head of the musical department at Stratford. So he was his sort of main assistant through rehearsals, and then also played in the orchestra during the show, but was sort of the assistant musical director all through that. And because I was an understudy in Billy Elliot, he was sort of like my coach. Like that's what I love doing. When I'm an understudy, I get to sort of work with some of these assistants on a much more personal level, which is really, really fun for me. So Billy Elliot was like doing that show, never in my wildest dreams. Like just being at Stratford was a joy, but being in like a song and dance musical on the festival stage, like at one point I like doing a pirouette at the end when we all like come out in our curtain call wearing tutus and doing a tap thing. I'm like, there were 47 people on stage in the final number, like with the final curtain call number with a full orchestra playing. Like just those moments, I just kind of looked around and thought, is this real? Is this life? Like it really felt like I was in a big splashy musical being in that. So it was really, really fun that I got to do both. And I got to understudy the amazing Blythe Wilson. I never went on, but just getting to learn that role and doing those put-ins and stuff like that, like, just having the opportunity to do that was a challenge that I was not expecting to have, but it was really, really fun to do and fun to learn.
That's hard. Like, is it common for people to understudy and never go on? Like, I don't know how that works because you like sew it. Like, you have to be ready to go, right? Like, how much notice? I have no idea. I've never been an understudy.
So it sort of depends. Like a lot of the times in theater, the contracts are not long, So most of the time, or I would say maybe 75% of the time, there actually are no understudies in sort of smaller, shorter runs of theatrical shows. I would say anything less than like 2 months, you normally wouldn't have an understudy, just because they, like, I hope that moving forward, people will not come into work sick anymore, just kind of like, you don't need to be a hero. Like, let's just, usually when that happens, you just end up getting the rest of the cast sick anyway. So like, hopefully after all of this, we will learn to like take a break when we need it. I'm like a huge advocate for that, especially being an understudy for so long, like for a number of big roles. I'm kind of like, if you're sick, this is what I'm here for. Stay home, and I've had understudies as well. And I think because I have been an understudy a few times, I think that that's just a slightly different mindset that I have. Like if I need to take a day, if something has come up, like this is what I have an understudy for. But for the longer contracts, it sort of depends. So another like very interesting understudy experience that I had is that I was in the musical Once with Mirvish, and I was the standby for the lead role of Girl. But because Once doesn't have an ensemble at all, there were 6 of us who were backstage every show, just kind of waiting to go on. Some people understudied more than one character, but my sole purpose there was to understudy that role. And I did go on, but I went on once.
Oh, that's ironic.
Star of Once, right? Like, I'm convinced that's the only reason that the universe like only had me go on once, is so that I could say the line Star of Once. So in those situations, like, with a show like that, and even some longer runs, it is more typical to go on as an understudy more than once. But at Stratford, what's interesting and slightly different, and this is why you don't see it as much there, is because you don't do your main show 8 times a week there. If you're in a musical, the most you would do it is maybe 4 times a week. Like, that's just the difference between rep theater. So if I was ever not feeling well, what we were told by our stage manager is it's a conversation. Instead of just you calling out right away, we have a conversation. We maybe let's see if we can pull you out of the ensemble of Billy Elliot for one show. See if you can take your break there so that you can go on and be Audrey for these, only 3 or 4 times a week that you get to do it. So you see it less at a place like Stratford. However, because the seasons are getting so long, and the musicals, hopefully, cross my fingers, they will go back to exactly the state that they have been for so long. Because the runs have been getting so long, like now they're upwards of 10 months, and just the value of the musicals there has grown so much. The demand has been there so much that hopefully there will be more of an understanding of needing to take that time off. Like, I'm a big advocate of that. I think that like you should be able to take a couple of personal days if you need it, no questions asked. I think that that's really, really healthy. I, of course, and this happens, like people have to miss milestone events. They almost didn't give me a day off for my wedding. Like I had to wait for a long weekend where I had 2 days off in a row. So I came back to Toronto and got married on Labor Day weekend. I hope that is something that, especially after this year where we value our own physical and mental health so much, that something in theater that we just start to value is taking time for yourself when you need it. I know that like it comes up so little, and these contracts are sometimes not long. It's not like careers, where you can take a vacation or you take a couple sick days, it doesn't matter. I just hope that we just value ourselves through all of this, and the people around us, It's one thing to be sick and get somebody else sick, but if you're not in a good mental state either, it can be toxic for your environment as well. So
for sure. It's so interesting though. It's like you get the role and you're like, no, I want to do it as much as I can. But then it's like, okay, no, but what's good for me? So, I mean, and you have like a support system, so you should take advantage, right? Especially if you have study. Yeah, Leslie,
Exactly.
understand.
I know it's hard. Like when we get a role, we're protective of it. It's like the most special thing, like the fact that we get paid to do a play, you know, to play a character that we love. We want to savor each and every one of those times that we get to. But like knowing that actually it will serve you and the role and the show better to take that day or 2 days off is something that takes a while to learn. But once you kind of do it, you sort of like understand that the show goes on. You know, the creative team are smart. They know how to make a show go on. The world revolves, you know, the world goes on without you. So, you know, it's an important lesson, I think, to learn. And so in my when I was on Disney Cruise Lines in my early 20s, I was an understudy for a couple of different roles. And so right away, I sort of got that experience.
Okay, I'm sorry. Disney Cruise Line. We're gonna back that up. What princesses were you, and who's your favorite?
So my favorite is an easy one, and I got to play her, which is funny because I auditioned because they were casting Toy Story the musical for the first time. They were casting the original cast of Toy Story the musical, which was like maybe going to be in the parks, was maybe going to be on the ship, was maybe going to Broadway, like who knows? They just wanted to develop it, so they were putting it on the ship. So that's like why they were reaching out to a much broader group of people. You know, it wasn't quite as big of like an open call. They were sort of going through agents a little bit more for that because they were looking for their original cast to help create the show as well. But so in addition, obviously, to like that show, we were, of course, in the like pre-created, preconceived Disney reviews that they had. So in those, I got to play Belle.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
My favorito. That's the right answer. Of course, us like brunettes growing up, we're like, yeah.
Only one. I read a book, so I'm clearly Belle.
Clearly. So I was Belle. I understudied. Like it's weird. You're not in these shows. They're all review shows mostly to kind of get like as much Disney as possible. Like I call it in the best way because I love Disney, but I call it like Disney vomit, where they're just like Disney, as much Disney as we can. So in the same show, I understudied Ariel as well, which was lots of fun because I did get to go on for that. So that was lots and lots of fun. Just like but I was in a fin. And literally, like, I was propped up on a rock, and the rock, like, rose up in the thing. And I remember going on for my put-in. And, like, that's a scary thing. Like, it's only a few of us who are being, like, put into the show. And the rest of the ensemble is kind of, like, doing their regular track around you. And I remember them literally, like, putting me on this rock, like, while there's other stuff going on. Just, like, putting me on the thing. Like, me kind of holding on to this in the trap room below. And like one of my best friends on the cruise at that time, she just kind of looked up to me and she went, "Gabi, are you safe?" And that's when I felt the rock like rise up, and I was like, "I want more!" Like as I was rising up, just like a very, very bizarre moment. I also played, and that was sort of in one show. I also played, and I'm only saying this because there's like. I'm hoping that this never, ever, ever happens again in the future. I played Pocahontas because that's what Disney did in the late aughts. I guess it was it was like a singer's track. So it was actually like Belle and Pocahontas was a common track at that time. Don't know why, but you know, you're 22 and you're like, I'll sing Colors of the Wind. Sure. It's 2007.
It's a good song. Like, I don't think
so.
I'm like, Disney Cruise Line.
So I think recently, I think a little bit too late, they have, you know, stopped casting people who should not be playing those roles. which is good because, you know, like it's like, of course, when you're in your early 20s, it's your first job out of school. Like you just need the job, you know? And of course, when there's like these other roles attached to it, original cast of Toy Story the musical, it's, you know, it should be on the creators to make those decisions, not the 22-year-olds necessarily, you know? But I should have known as well. So I'm saying that for Instagram Live right now.
Yes,
but
it's a giant apology, but I'm sure you killed it.
Exactly. Oh, thanks, man. But the fun little thing is in Toy Story is that they needed somebody a tallish woman to be to be in one of the puppets, because of course there are like the giant puppets in Toy Story. There's like the pig and Rex the dinosaur and Mr. Potato Head, and there's Slinky Dog. And when you have the cartoon version of Slinky Dog, there's like just, you know, the Slinky. When you have it in live action, there's somebody who has to be in the head, and then there's like the Slinky, and then there's someone who has to be in the butt. And that was me, original Slinky Dog's butt.
That is an honor.
You know, I wear it with pride. Slinky butt.
I mean, no one else can say they played it because it's not a thing. So
it's a conversation piece on my resume for sure. Like
I thought I read it on your resume, and I'm like, because I'm like, Toy Story the musical. What is she like padding her resume that she doesn't have to pad? Like I was very, very confused. So I'm like, there's so much. What is this? So that was interesting. What happened to it? Like, it just wasn't working. No one wanted it. No one felt it.
You know, I personally think, and like, you know, my peers, we all really loved it. We all loved doing the show. It, like, Toy Story has so much heart, and it's such an amazing story. I personally think, and the music was great. They had these wonderful New York composers write some of the music for it. You know, like the Buzz, like, you know, Woody sang this amazing song called That's Why We're Here, where he talks about just like the essence of a toy is to like be there for your person. And that was kind of the opening number. The Buzz Lightyear character, his song, of course, called To Infinity and Beyond, was like a recruiting song to like recruit the other toys to be part of his space mission. Like, it was just really smart, good stuff. The character of Sid, the next door neighbor, played by my dear friend Rachel Fisher, had like this incredible like rock and roll like song. It was really, really fun. I think that it was too big, like literally too big of a show for the ship, so they couldn't quite develop it the way that I think they needed to. Like, we had to, when we were walking around on stage, when we would exit the stage, like there was an entire other show happening backstage on just how to like turn us around. Like, we needed like 3 people to help us like go from this way to like this way, just because we were so huge. So I personally think, who knows, I know nothing about how any of this works, but I personally think that if it had been developed in the parks, like in the amusement parks,
right.
Maybe they could have thought a little bit beyond, you know, infinity, whatever. Yeah. And they could have maybe like done a little bit more that they originally had conceived in their brains, maybe, you know, and then maybe they could have thought about moving it, because it seems like a pretty obvious show to move to like a Disney Broadway type of thing. But unfortunately, it just closed on the ships a couple of years ago. So it ran for like about 10 years. Yeah, 10 years or so on the ship. So like it had, you know, it was a good little run, and people really enjoyed it. But yeah, it ends there for now.
Yeah. But you have always, so you originated the butt though?
I did originate the butt. I, again, understudied, because, you know, there's so many roles that like everyone just kind of understudies everybody there. So I understudied Little Bo Peep.
Really hard to play the butt.
I hope, you know, my dear friend who was the swing on Toy Story was my understudy, and when I went on for Bo Peep, she got to go on for me, and she was like, it's a thrill. It's a real thrill to go on for the butt.
I feel like that's a lot of work. We're joking, but I'm like, that must be exhausting. I do not envy that role. Like, that's hard. Anyways.
It was. I had to wear a back brace for the first time, you know? Like luckily because we were this original cast, we actually, it was kind of the first time ever that I sort of felt like I had a little bit of power in the theater, and me and my other puppet comrades, we were like, we're hurting. Like, we had heard all of these nightmare stories about Lion King and these people in giant puppets and having neck and back issues for years. So we asked for weekly physio appointments and, like, you know, on the ship. And we asked for certain, like, because there was no one else that could have done it. You know, they couldn't have replaced us. We kind of like came together and like made a few demands, and being an original cast member, we actually got a whole bunch of what we asked for. So it was nice. It was the first time I was like, we can do things ourselves. You know, we aren't just powerless actors.
I always think actors need physio. And I'm like, at one part, I'm like, if I was really ambitious, I would offer my services. But I'm like, that's a lot of people needing physio. That's just like a lot of work. So I'm like, maybe. I'm like, if you put me in the show, I'll be your physio. But like,
I'm calling you up, by the way.
You have my number. We'll do a feed about it. I'll diagnose you online.
Perfect. I'm broken. Please help me.
So is everyone in my family. I love free physio. It's great. Oh my gosh. How's the family? How's everyone doing?
Oh, we're good. We're really good. My parents, bless them, they're doing great. They just, of course, miss us. We do see them. They're sort of like the one group of people that we see mostly outside in the winter, you know, just like they're the only people that we'll sort of go into a household with. But we've really, really, really tried to restrict everything else so that we can continue to see just them safely, because that's really important to us. And my mom is writing away for those of you on Instagram Live world who know, my mother is an author. Her name is Kathy Kaser. It's Holocaust Memorial Day, and she writes Holocaust education young adult books. So actually, kind of cool little side bit. This year, through one of the like many COVID pivots that you do as an artist, I started recording audiobooks, and I have actually been hired to record a whole bunch of hers. And so we're going to have this incredible legacy and collection of not only her books, but of me narrating a whole bunch of her books.
That's amazing. I was like skimming through and I'm like, these sound like Holocaust audiobooks. I'm like, it's so important though, because I was watching this, I can't remember the title. It was on television today, but it's just all the survivors, the ones that are left telling their stories. And it's just, they keep getting like fewer and fewer numbers. And it's just, I mean, not to bring this feed down, but I'm just like thinking that, I don't know, like it's always such a sensitive subject when I hear like people don't know about the Holocaust. And that frightens me. I'm like, oh my God. Because like my grandmother, one of my grandmothers was a survivor, and then like my husband, one of his grandmothers, and then like work camps and everything. And it's just that it's such a generation of survivors and fighters. And I'm like, okay, we have to stay inside. They survived the Holocaust, so I can do this. Because I can't imagine.
And what's so important also is that like that generation of survivors in the next, you know, most of them are not living anymore, but especially in the next decade or so, you know, even the ones who are very, very, very young during that time aren't going to be with us anymore. And so like, luckily we have people like my mom who are writing these stories, you know, whose families are coming to her to have their story told just so that it can be written down somewhere. And so that's been the reason that she continues to do it, is just because she knows that these first person voices, you know, like these first generation survivors are going to be gone. And so there's no one else to be able to tell these stories. And so you know, with obviously the whole notion of never forget, you know, it's much easier to forget when you don't have people who experienced it firsthand. And so just making sure that there are like accurate accounts, and that just pushing that message that we cannot make the same mistakes, which is why I'm just very grateful that over the last few weeks, these things that could have mounted to more dire states than it turned out to be, thank goodness. But there were certainly like similar signs there. And like, luckily, hopefully people had enough sense to know that to spot the signs, to spot, you know, anti-Semitism and racism and everything everywhere, and just hate, and to pull the plug.
Yeah.
You know.
But no, I love that your mom's doing that. I love that you're doing that. I'm just, it's so important. Like, keep talking about it.
That's been really cool, especially because like it's, you know, it's a whole new like performance art for me. So it's been such a great opportunity for me to continue to work while doing this wonderful thing for my mom and my family.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be on, like, how do you listen to it, on Spotify or how?
So most of them I think are on Audible.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, so I think like I'm working with a couple of different publishing houses. So I know that the first one I recorded back last May, called Broken Strings, funny enough, also about a young girl doing a production of Fiddler on the Roof. It comes full circle, you know? It's always there. It's always there for us. So that one I know for sure is on Audible, and I'm pretty sure that a few others, but they've sort of come out so staggered that at some point I'm gonna like go through and track them all down and put, you know,
and then just promote
make available. Yeah.
Listen to Gabi, she's awesome. But I'm glad that you're doing that. Like, that's important. I just love that Fiddler keeps coming up, and that's so funny. When I didn't like how I know, like, I mean, I always knew you were awesome because I've heard of you, but like, I'm gonna tell a story about Gabi because it always makes me smile. Where I've been playing the mom since I was 25. I've accepted it, and my daughters in Poppins, they were great, and then I see them, they're my daughters again in Fiddler, and they're incredible, and I'm like, what's the difference? And they have their vocal coach, Gabi, and I'm like, oh, and they're listening to the vocal exercises backstage, warming up, and I'm like, oh my God, they're amazing. This girl, okay, so I'm just like so impressed with, again, they're great, they put the work in, but I'm like, I don't know what you did to them. They're awesome.
I'm so proud, by the way.
I'm like, oh my God, they record all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm not being creepy watching these little girls. Like, they're teens now, it's fine. But like the way you've been involved in helping them find their voice, I find that so rewarding. Like, I don't know.
That's really sweet. I've been teaching singing lessons like since I graduated school. So like from a very young age, I've loved teaching singing lessons. It's been like my main side job forever, for like, you know, however many years now, out of school for a minute. And I just I am just so inspired by my students. I teach it started out because I was only like 20 or so when I started teaching. I sort of felt more comfortable teaching teens, young people and teens. And I've continued just to find that that's sort of what I teach people of all ages and young professionals and adults as well. But I really love teaching like preteen and teen. I just find that that's such an important part of your vocal development. And if I can just get in there, like right in those really, really important formative years as a singer, where your speaking voice, like your muscles are developing at that time. And so you will see huge differences every single year of your teenage and early 20s, you know, singer life. And so I just think that it's such an important thing to really get in there and hone those techniques, especially if they're musical theater or pop singers where they're imitating a lot of what they hear from recordings and maybe singing in less healthy ways sometimes, like especially when they're belting out big notes or everything. And that'll be fine, and they'll sound great maybe for a couple of years, and then have incredible vocal fatigue later. And so I've really like, so that's something that I've fostered as being trained classically, to like use my belting voice in a very healthy way. I don't think that belting and singing in that voice is unhealthy at all, but I think that there are a lot of people that don't do it in a healthy way, and I think that there are actually really great techniques to be able to use that part of your voice, not only in a healthy way, but a way that can last you 8 shows a week. Like people always ask me, like people call me cords of steel, and I'm like, like classical training, but also like just good belting techniques, like, and so I just like, I'm so passionate about making sure that these young people do not damage their voices at all at that age. And so I'm honored that they were doing my vocal exercises backstage, but it's a real joy for me to be able to teach, especially like, it's nice when the kids are talented to begin with, and they come to me and I'm like, oh, you're great. I'm just going to tweak this little thing here and there. And we'll just use your natural vocal development to go with it.
Yeah. Have you ever said no to a student? Just curious. Or is it like anyone can sing? I'm always curious about that. You don't have to name any bad students. But
I've never said no to a student, because what I love about teaching singing lessons, and I apologize to all of the piano teachers out there, but it's a little bit different than I find, especially when I'm working with young people, or even young professionals, young adults, nobody takes singing lessons because they're forced to take singing lessons.
So you were forced to take piano. I got it. Okay.
Well, I did, and I feel like everyone, especially with piano, who doesn't realize if they're not a virtuoso and start training in a very intense way from a young person, from a young point in their lives. I find that if you take piano, you sort of have to get over a hump of like learning how to read music, figuring out like not the hands to the brain just need to kind of like sync together, and it takes a number of years for that to happen, and it can be really frustrating if you don't get to that point. But if you actually get to that point, then piano is a thrill and a joy, and I love playing piano, and I love that I know how to play it and read music. But no one is like, there are some amazing parents out there who sense that their child has a gift, but it's not like that's the first thing that they do just to get their child into music lessons. It's not. It's, at least from my experience, it hasn't been singing lessons first. It's been an instrument first. Also in school, of course, like they do instruments first. And so usually when I'm approached about singing lessons, it's either because somebody or a parent notices that somebody is talented and they want to, hone those skills, or they love to sing. Hopefully it's both, but sometimes on occasion I've gotten the student who loves to sing, who doesn't necessarily have the most beautiful voice, natural talent in the world. And I never, ever, ever want to be in a position where I'm taking away that love for them. So what I will do is I will teach them fundamental techniques. I will help them produce a good tone. I even say to people, if you are technically actually tone deaf or you cannot hear, I will work your ear. I will help to train your ear, and I will make you I will develop your tone. I will help with the actual sound that you produce. Even if it's not the right note all the time, it will sound beautiful. And if this is something that you love to do, the reality is, of course, I will be very honest with somebody also if they've reached a point and I'm kind of like, I'm just not sure what I can do. I've passed people on to other people, but I don't like saying no, because I think that singing is such a joyful thing, and I never want to take away. Like, that is what makes I'm my best version of myself. I feel the best that I have ever felt when I'm singing, and just because someone may not be a superbly talented singer, I think that joy can still be there.
There's something about when you hit that note and you're like, I want other people to be able to do this. And it's, oh my God, I love listening to you sing. Great. No, I was just giving you praise. I'm just saying you're awesome. Hitting some notes. I watched your Funny Girl stuff because I'm like,
oh, thanks, man.
Some good notes were hit. I enjoyed that. Well, it's like it's Barbra Streisand. Like this is
that was a fun one.
Oh my God, it's good. But like, I don't even. Did you grow
yeah.
up with Barbra? Like what? Because I grew up like I thought Barbra Streisand was like pop. That's what I grew up. I thought like Barbra Streisand, ABBA, and the Carpenters. That's all we listened to on like little sets. If people know what that is. So I didn't know about like these boy bands. That's all I knew. So when I'm like, oh my God, other people like Barbra. I'm not like I'm cool now.
My parents loved Barbra Streisand. I actually so I was like a little Broadway baby when I was a kid and teen. And like also, my parents being like, children of immigrants and me being the eldest, like it's not like we had like this, inherent pop cult, like, North American pop culture like thing. It was mostly through my friends, if anything. And I went to like art schools. I was in choirs and went to art schools. And so we like were all just musical theater people. So I actually grew up like my like biggest singing influence was Bernadette Peters. She was like my first one because like through Into the Woods and through like I remember like watching Annie, like like seeing this like girl with big red curly hair and who like sang these like amazing songs, and that was actually who I gravitated to really early on. And of course I knew Barbra, but it was more like my parents' love for Barbra Streisand that made me aware of her and who she was. And it was only kind of in my early 20s where I started to sing her stuff and just realized how much I love it and love her and just appreciated her vocals and her uniqueness and everything about her. But just how, and I say this like with complete praise for Barbra, but like how similar our styles are. And so, of course, like she then became just such an incredible influence for me, where it was not only the way that she sings, but also just her celebrating her uniqueness and not hiding from it, not trying to fit into anything, but like actually being famous for being exactly who she was.
Do you know the story she had? Like she insisted on having a white microphone. So the like. No, because apparently, like, when it's a black microphone, like, that's all that people focus on or something. She's, like, wearing a white outfit and she needed a white microphone because she wanted, like, to not, I don't know. I don't know the actual story there, but I think she just wanted, like, look at my face, not my microphone. It sounded like a diva, but also, like, good for you. Get your microphone.
Just do what you want. If something makes you happy. She also, like gets white roses. Like, that's like her flower. People, she loves white roses. So like also out there, if anyone ever wants to send me flowers, it's white roses like Barbra Streisand. But just, what's the famous audition story for her is when she was auditioning. I'm not sure if it was for I Can Get It For You Wholesale, which was what she did when she was a teen, like her Broadway debut. Maybe it was something before that, or it was that show. I forget. If like Bobby Shue is watching, he will know that. So of course, but so the legend goes that she came in like, 19-year-old, 18-year-old, whatever, something, nobody, chewing gum, like crazy, came into the room, like, what are you going to sing? Whatever. She like took her gum out and put it under her chair. Yeah. And then sang her song, of course, blew everybody away, then left the room. And the people went and looked under the chair and there was no gum. That was all just a bit like just to stand out. I freaking love it so much. Just do what you can. Do what you can to make yourself unique, stand out. That's actually like, when sometimes, when you speak or do things, like you get asked your advice for young people. And that's always like what I say. It's like, figure out what makes you unique and then just focus on that, because no one else will be able to do that as well as you can. So it's always, it's effort. It's not like it's easy necessarily to find what makes you unique, but once you do figure it out, could be when you're 15, 20, or 60. Once you do figure it out, just like focus on that. No one, that's what will set you apart. And that's what people will remember.
I like that. I feel like that's a really good line to end on. Not that I want to wrap this up, but I'm like, that's such a good line. And I'm trying to learn when to cut these short. But then I realized we talked for like a very long time. So. This was great. Thank you so much for doing
Robyn.
this.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for take all the things. And thanks for just, watching my stuff, asking the cues. It makes me feel nice. It makes me feel like, oh, people know things that I do. That's nice,
I get so excited. I see people on TV. I'm like, I saw you. I'm like a YouTube thing. I'm like, yeah, way to go. But it's like everyone's trying, right? And I finally have time to watch everyone's stuff. And I'm like, this is great. You sing a Yiddish song. I'm like, she speaks Yiddish. This is really cool. Doing all these fast Jewish songs. I'm like, represent the Jews. I like it.
Oh, yeah. That dreidel song.
It was nuts. It was like Stephen Sondheim does the dreidel. That is all I can describe.
Totally.
Like, she's getting married today? What is this song? Okay.
I was like, where do I breathe?
I'm watching it. I'm like, oh my God. It's still going. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Oh, thank you. That was nice.
I'm talking, can people see these videos as I'm talking about them?
I believe that the Dreidels Lament is on YouTube. It was put out by the Spiros, Simon Spiro and Eliza Spiro, who are the musical people at Beth Tzedek, the synagogue, and so they put out a whole bunch of Hanukkah programming, including a nightly little musical offering. And so that was what I did. And so it's called The Dreidels Lament. I think it's the Song Shul. I think that's their YouTube channel. You can look at that. Anybody wants to see a little dreidel song.
I mean, it's always Hanukkah, right? I like it. Okay. Oh my God,
always
I just said
Hanukkah
instead of Hanukkah.
I was going to say Hanukkah. Who are you?
I'm trying to assimilate or something. It's very, on Holocaust, I'm like, Robyn, come on. Slicha, ani mista'eret, words in Hebrew. Okay. I'm just saying I was sorry. Anyways,
I actually call Jeremy, my husband, who's not Jewish, but of course, now is, getting to be more Jewish than I am, just being married to me for 1 year. He did the same thing. He was like, oh, on that'll be for the third night of Hanukkah. And I was like, what, Jeremy? Sorry. Hanukkah. Yes.
We're gonna get everyone to ch. It's gonna vocal. That's number one vocal exercise if you train with Gabi. So
that and Fran Drescher's nasal quality. Those are the two.
And anyone can get into Fiddler on the Roof if they train with you.
I'll make it happen for you.
Oh my God. Do you offer lessons too? Just so people can know to contact? Are you still doing virtual lessons or?
I am. I switched over to Zoom lessons really early on. And I've been doing it pretty consistently. So that's been another sort of main thing. And you can DM me on here if you want to inquire about singing lessons.
Slide into her DMs in a safe way. I don't know how to be cool anymore. Okay. I was never cool. All right. Remember when I said I should have ended it and then I kept talking and I got weird? That was fun.
I love it. We don't know social anything interactions. We just don't know how to do anymore.
No, not at all. And yet,
yeah,
I try. But no, thank you very much for doing this. Thoroughly enjoyed talking with you. And
you too, Robyn.
You're a great person. And keep on doing what you're doing so I can keep watching and messaging you and be like, yay.
Thanks, darling. I'm gonna send out some tags also. So there's me, and then there's the new local, which is at the.new.local, and that's our sort of virtual performances where we partner with local restaurants to do virtual dinner and show events. And that's where you can find out about our thing. We also have the newlocal.ca, where you can join our mailing list and find out about stuff like that. We'll tag it.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Shameless
But
plug.
that's what this is for.
You know, just trying. We're all just trying to do the thing, you know? And thanks so much for having me, Robyn. This was so great.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a lovely evening. And
thanks, you too.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.